Hello everyone and welcome to this brand new series on my channel, GDDV 106, Development Concepts. My name is Kasanis. Guys, this is a brand new series, and once again, this particular series has been designed for my students in the game development program at Centennial College. This particular course is a course on Unity. It is an introduction to Unity, and we'll be exploring the ideas of coding within Unity, programming within Unity. Today, specifically, in this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at exactly what this course is all about. All right, everyone, let's get started. So the course introduction. If you were to look up this course online, you would see the following course description. This course introduces fundamental concepts in game development. Students will be introduced to the core programming concepts such as variables, operators, control flow, loops, arrays, functions, methods, and event handling. Other developmental concepts taught include game states, game manager, game win-loss end conditions, particle systems, and implementation of game UI elements. This course will include the production of several applications and game digital prototypes. So as I've already mentioned, this course is going to explore Unity very heavily, and we're going to be utilizing the programming language C#. There are several course outcomes that are associated with this particular course. Course outcomes mean that by the end of the course, you will be able to reliably demonstrate the ability to demonstrate fundamental knowledge related to programming and game programming, apply the object-oriented paradigm to create graphical and interactive applications, produce small-scale, fully functional game prototypes and tools. So at the end of this course, I can promise you, you will have all of these things. Our course is designed to allow you to start creating right away in Unity. So let's discuss the idea of teaching methodology. As I've mentioned a bunch of times, we're really going to be exploring game engine and code in this particular course. And for a lot of my students, that's something that's frightening. Game development is such a wide field. You can be an artist, you can be either a traditional artist, a 2D artist, a 3D artist, an animator. You could be someone who creates audio, you could be someone who does production. And we are looking for students at Centennial College, we're looking for students who can do any of these things. We're not strictly looking for coders. Lots of our students are coders, but lots of our students aren't. So a lot of times this particular course can be frightening. This is an introduction for a lot of people to the idea of code. And for a lot of people, code is a mystery. It's this secret language that only, certain people understand. And I'm really hoping that by the end of this course, you guys will feel much differently. Those who are frightened of it will feel much differently about coding. I'm planning on ensuring that you have the confidence to be able to code at least simplistic things by the time we're done. This is only an introduction course. You have courses throughout the 3 years you're here at Centennial. Every semester you have several coding courses. Even if you're not a strong coder right now, by the time you are done, you will be a strong coder. So in this particular course, we're going to be exploring these developmental concepts utilizing lecture, discussion, as well as in class. And I do that in quotes because, of course, we are not going to be in class. We are currently stuck at home because of COVID, and you are watching this online asynchronously, which is great because that means you get to watch it a whole bunch of times and really cement these ideas in your head. So I'm not disappointed in that. But our in-class assignments will be done not in class. And you'll have a bunch of take-home assignments as well. We're also going to be applying all the theory that we learn in these courses to practical examples. So you will be doing, in your take-home assignments, you'll be doing larger prototypes of applications and games. As I've already mentioned several times, we are going to be utilizing Unity as our game engine. There's lots of choice for game engine right now. There's a lot of great choice for game engine right now. I find Unity to be one of the best choices, in all honesty. It's got a great community. It's got a lot of additional learning tools. The use of C#, which we'll be using, C# and Visual Studio. The use of C# is not as steep a learning curve as C++. So that's what we'll be studying. We'll be studying Unity Game Engine, and we'll be studying with Visual Studio and C Sharp. I like MonoDevelop, but MonoDevelop is no longer included with the releases of Unity. So we will be using Visual Studio. It's important that everyone who is following along is using the latest current release of Unity, and I'll be talking about what that is as we move forward in this particular course. I'll talk about which one I'm using throughout each video so you know exactly which release I'm currently on. So it's important that we're all utilizing the same release of Unity. Things change over different releases. If you have an older release or a newer release, things aren't going to be exactly like you're seeing within this particular video series. So it's important that you are utilizing the same Unity that I'm using at this time. All right? So let's talk about how we're going to progress through these different ideas. We're going to be taking a look at a 14-week course. Week 1 is, of course, going to be this course intro, and we're going to talk about the Unity interface through example. So congratulations, you're already halfway through this initial week. Week 2, introduction to scripting. We're going to move right away into the idea of scripting, and we'll talk about, this might be an introduction for a lot of people. They've never scripted anything before, and we're going to talk about just some of the really basic stuff in scripting. Afterwards, in week 3, we're going to move into logic and control structures. So we'll talk about the idea of if statements and loops and what have you. In week 4, we're going to move into the introduction to the UI system within Unity, and we'll talk about building ourselves UI interfaces. Week 5 is an introduction to game physics. So we'll take a look at the different physics options within Unity. Week 6, we'll talk about input. So that's particularly player input. Week 7 is going to be the creation of assets. So we're going to start to put together some of the ideas that you have learned in the first 6 weeks to actually build ourselves game assets of some kind. Week 8, we're going to study particle systems. We'll take a look at Unity's particle systems and what we can do with it as far as feedback is concerned. In week 9, we'll talk about multi-scene projects. Week 10, we're going to delve into narrative design with Fungus. So at that particular point in time, that particular class is going to be about utilizing tools from the asset store. Now, I really like Fungus. I'm hoping that by the time we get to this portion of the class, Fungus is available for the current release of Unity. Obviously, it is a third-party tool, and they have to keep catching up. If it's not there, then that particular week will be replaced with some other asset store learning. Week 11 is going to be playtesting techniques. We're going to talk about the idea of playtesting techniques and what you need to do to be able to allow people to playtest your game properly. For a lot of my students, they've created games in the past, but they've never really had anybody playtest it. Maybe their mom playtested or their brother and like, oh, I love your game. But once you put your game out there for other people to test, it's really important to understand what you need to do to get proper feedback about your game and to iteratively change your game, to iteratively go through your design process to make sure that the changes in your game are accurate and reflect what your audience is looking for. So we'll talk about playtesting techniques in week 11. Week 12 is going to be an actual playtesting session of one of your games. Week 13 is going to be an iterative discussion. So how do you have to change your game based on what you've done within the playtesting sessions? And week 14 is going to be the final presentation of your large group game. So let's take a look at your assignment list. And this is how you're going to be evaluated in this particular course. We've got ourselves several different assignments here. Assignment 1 is going to be related to the idea of functions. Once you've learned how to utilize functions, we're going to make sure you know how to use them. So that'll be 5% of your grade. Assignment 2 is going to be arrays, and that'll be 5% of your grade. Assignment 3 is going to be your first real application. It's going to be the creation of a simplistic calculator that can do addition and subtraction. We'll be exploring the idea of creating this entirely in UI, utilizing UI. So it's going to be worth 15% of your overall grade, and it's going to be your first actual build of a project. Assignment number 4 is going to be a colliders and triggers, so kind of a physics-based game that you're going to be creating. It's going to be worth 15% of your overall grade. Assignment 5 will be start to talk about the idea of a side scroller. And in fact, you'll have several weeks to build yourself a simplistic side scroller. And it's going to be a combination side scroller / infinite runner kind of thing that you're going to create. You're going to be really in charge of the gameplay. We're going to discuss the options, but you're going to be in charge of the gameplay, the art, and everything else about that particular game. It's going to be your opportunity to really make it your own. 25% is for a branching path narrative style game. My plan is for us to utilize Fungus to create this particular game. And like I said previously, I'm hoping that Fungus is going to be available for the version of Unity that we're utilizing in class. So it's going to be a group project where you will again be in charge of the entirety of this particular game. It's really, really important that when you guys are creating these individual projects, especially if you're given the opportunity to make it your own, that you really do so later on when you're creating your portfolio. And you absolutely should be creating a portfolio every single semester that you are in school, and you keep updating your portfolio with your latest work. It's imperative that this is available so that you can show this off to people in case that there's opportunities through summer, etc., to intern in a studio. If you have your portfolio ready, then you will absolutely be able to do this. So whenever you're given the option to create something and you can kind of make it your own, do so. Put the extra effort in. That is where it's going to be important to put in the extra effort, in these things that allow you to stand out from the other people that you're competing with from all the other schools that are available. Lastly, there's going to be a 10% option for a group discussion board. Now, this is particularly important during this time when we're stuck at home during COVID. The group discussion board is going to be an opportunity for you to help your fellow students and to explore other options. It's going to be asynchronous. So regardless of where you are in the world, and we have students from all over the world, so regardless of where you are in the world, the asynchronous portion, such as the videos you're watching right now in the group discussion boards, are going to be really, really important for you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my expectations for this particular course. And the expectations for this course are pretty much the same as they are for every other course. I do my absolute best to make sure that I don't lecture, that I don't give you content, whether it's lecture or practical demonstrations, that I keep down this information to about 1 to 1.5 hours in each course every single week. And that way you have the opportunity to absorb that information. Now, the rest of our class hours, which there's at least 1.5 to 2 hours, is going to be about a deep dive into the information that we've looked at in this video, in these videos, for example. It's going to be really, really important that you are able to participate in that 1.5 to 2 hours. That's where a lot of your learning takes place. The content that you get from any individual school course is not usually a whole lot different, in all honesty. What you will get is information from your professors. The time that your professors have to devote to you individually, the time that your professors have to explore your work and to deep dive into particular subjects is where most of the learning will take place. That is what you really want to be involved in. So I ask that regardless of where you are, you do your absolute best to attend the synchronous portions of the classes as well. I know lots of you out there who are watching this, or maybe not lots of you, because a lot of this stuff isn't of absolute interest to people from my channel, what it used to be. If you're not actually in the courses at Centennial, well, you should be. Come to Centennial. Our program is awesome. We have great students, great cohorts that come in every year, and honestly, our professors are fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that occurs. So if you're not actually at Centennial and you're just watching these videos on YouTube, consider coming to Centennial next year. Anyway, guys, so if you're not actually in Centennial, you're not going to get any of that stuff. You're not actually going to get the additional work and most of that learning. I encourage you, if you're not actually attending class, if you're not actually at Centennial, that you participate in discussions below within the comments. That's going to give you an opportunity to really show off your work. All right, and again, there's something that's really important about programming, and this being an introduction to programming, it's important that you get used to this idea relatively quickly. A lot of times, regardless of how many languages you know, switching languages is not difficult to do. Really, it's all about syntax, and once you understand the logic behind what you're doing, then being able to create the proper syntax to actually employ that particular logic is not difficult to do. What it does require is some additional work on your part, however. What you're going to need to do is get used to the idea of additional documentation within Unity, within C#. Explore the additional documentation. If you have an idea of what you want to do, then you can explore by Googling the extra stuff that you want to do, and you'll come up with documentation about the scripting language you're interested in. Once you can employ that scripting language, then putting your logic in place is not difficult at all. At the end of each assignment, or at least at the end of each lecture, when I talk about the assignments, I will give you hints. Take a look at this idea, and it's going to be up to you to explore that idea on your own through the documentation that's available. It's not that I'm being lazy. It's not that I don't want to teach it to you. What I do want is for you to get used to the idea of being able to look up some of this stuff on your own and discover new things. There's absolutely no way that I would be able to go over and teach you every little piece of the C# language. It's an impossibility. But if you do have an idea you want to actually explore, Googling it or reading about it within documentation will tell you how to use it. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. That's what I'm going to be doing in this particular course. I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction. If you did, let me know down below in the comments. And if you didn't, that's perfectly fine. If you're not in my class, you know what, you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. That's perfectly fine. If you're in my class, you got to watch this stuff. I want you guys to watch it. This is going to be provided for you for asynchronous discovery, for asynchronous learning. You can go back and you can watch these videos, particularly videos that are about a technical nature, over and over again until you understand it. I really like the idea of utilizing asynchronous learning in a course, and I think that this COVID has been horrible. COVID has been horrible, and it's been horrible for everyone, but it's given us some opportunities. It's given us the opportunity to change education, and I'm going to hopefully be able to run with these changes that are occurring. All right, everyone. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.